In the previous lesson, we looked at an overview of the whole general planning process. Now what we want to do is start applying this for a sales manager creating a sales team plan. What I'm going to do here is firstly discuss the people and process aspects of building the plan, as well as some comments about understanding your planning environment. In the lessons that follow, we'll step through the different sections of situation analysis, goals and objectives, strategy and tactics, and I'll be asking you to start putting together a plan that you will end up discussing with your coach. So let's start with your planning environment. The first thing you will need to determine is whether or not there is a planning process and planning templates that are mandated for you, maybe company-wide or just in your part of it. If there is something mandated, then whether or not it is any good is immaterial, because almost certainly you're going to have to follow it. What I'd suggest is that you go through this module and build a plan initially using the GHOST process, because that way you will better understand some generic planning templates, but then use that as a draft that you can then put into your company format. Even if you don't have a rigid standard process, it's likely that people around you will have been producing and using plans. So talk to your boss about what they use, but also maybe talk to other supporting functions. Is there a pre-sales plan? Is there a customer excellence plan? Is there an operational plan? Is there a financial plan? And clearly you would want to understand these both in terms of their content, but also because you'll want to align with them and look at their formats and processes that they use. How all these plans align could be a very complex process, but here we're really concerned about how you can build a plan for you to achieve desired results through the efforts of the people in your team. Once you think you understand the planning environment that you're in, it may be a good idea to check it with your coach or your boss before you start putting efforts in during this module. Before getting involved in the task of creating the plan, let's go back to the hamburger model and think about process and people. In terms of process, again, you may be bound by some company guidelines as to when plans need to be put in place, but whatever, best practice is to set yourself a deadline for when you want it complete. This is almost a plan to produce a plan, but the reason is that there is no such thing as a perfect plan, and you may well fall into the trap of trying to continually improve it. But having a deadline for yourself means that at some stage you're going to have to call a halt to this phase of the planning and have something that you can start to execute on. Don't get me wrong, planning is a continual process, and all good sales managers are continually replanning and replanning. However, the plan itself is going to be worthless unless you start executing on it. For the purpose of this module, where you're going to be asked to produce an outline plan, I suggest that you agree a deadline with your coach when you're going to present something to them. Other aspects of the process that you'll want to decide upon are obviously your timetable for drafting out the different elements. Can you do some things in parallel? As well as more mundane matters such as what format is it going to be in. Here you might want to think through how you will present it to different interested parties. The people side of building a plan is also deserving of some thought. In general, I will encourage you to involve others as much as possible for two reasons. A, their input should lead to a richer and better plan, but also their involvement will go a long way towards getting their buy-in. By others, clearly you can involve people in your team, especially maybe the more senior people. They may want to take a bigger role in helping you create or refine the plan. But others who are significantly involved in supporting your efforts should also get some involvement. And I talk about involvement because you don't need everybody to be engaged in every single stage. It may be that certain people can add real value in certain particular aspects, while others you may want to use in an oversight or reviewing capacity. While it's recommended that you involve others, there are two dangers to be aware of. Firstly, involving too many people is going to make the whole process very time consuming, and you could end up with a kind of design by committee. In addition, remember that this is your plan, and so for me at least, it is important that your personal views, your insight, your experience, your expertise will shine through. What you may want to do before getting into the plan proper is write down your personal imperatives and even anything you're going to absolutely insist on for this plan. And this could be a very short list. Maybe for example, I've just jotted down this. So this is a directional statement. The starting point is I want an ambitious plan with the team operating in a professional manner, in line with overall company goals and in collaboration with other teams. And then I've jotted down what I call favoured directions. A heavy emphasis on getting closer to our customers, which probably means vertical integration more intelligent use of our channel partners, an emphasis on our new leading edge solutions with thought leadership. In terms of recruiting, I want a mix of really top professional salespeople, plus some juniors who have the capability and desire to progress quickly. I want everybody to be able to understand how buyer expectations have changed over recent years, and I want everybody embracing the new tools that are increasingly becoming available to us. So I find putting this kind of statement together before entering into the detailed planning process really helps me to set out my personal direction, albeit in a manner which I will be prepared to alter given good arguments, but which will form a foundation to build upon. Many successful sales managers that I come across take this a little bit further. However, the trade-off is that whilst you want to give good, strong direction at the start of the planning process, you also want everyone involved, including yourself, to regard this as a journey of discovery. You'll normally want to engage the rest of the sales team in developing the plan and making decisions such as, which markets to focus on and how should the team be structured. Incidentally, further in this module is a lesson on team decision thinking, which will give you a really nice tool to help you manage that process of involving others. So the first thing we're going to ask you to do before you start creating the actual plan is to sketch out a plan for a plan. In your workbook is a somewhat simple example to guide you, and also in your workbook there are some specific questions that might be useful to consider. Depending on the relationship that you have with your coach, you may want to bounce this plan for a plan off of them before going much further. We hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial and found it useful in developing your sales management skills. It's one of a series designed to help aspiring, new or developing sales managers. Please subscribe to get access to all of the tutorials in the series and to get news of new ones added. You can also go to www.realsalesmanager.com where you'll find lots of other activities and resources, as well as guides suggesting the best sequence in which to listen to or watch these tutorials.